Many thanks indeed for tuning in and finding time to join us here on Setting the Pace on Zuku Sports. Hello and welcome. My name is Sadiq Shaban. We have lined up so much for you in this episode of Setting the Pace, including how counties in the devolved government in Kenya and the devolved systems of government in Kenya are going to take advantage of the process to be able to look critically at the game of athletics and its development going into the future. Plus, we are also going to be speaking to a person who says this is a moment that countries in East Africa should put more emphasis on the sport of athletics. Plus,
my favorite meal is ugali. I love ugali.
Yes, you know, it's a segment you've all been waiting for. Stand by for that. This is Setting the Pace. Quite a lot of news this past week in the world of athletics, including the big one that happened at the Berlin Marathon. Kenya's Dennis Kimeto smashed the course record at the 2013 Chicago Marathon, clocking 2:03:45, the fourth fastest time in history. Emmanuel Mutai of Kenya was 7 seconds behind, while two more Kenyans rounded out the top four. 2013 Boston Marathon champion Rita Jepto added another victory by winning the women's race in a personal best time of 2:19:57 ahead of another Kenyan, Jemima Sumgong Chelagat, who was 51 seconds behind. Russia's Maria Konovova finished third by clocking 2:22:48. Elsewhere, Berlin Marathon champion Florence Kiplagat and Moscow World Championship finalist Peter Kimeli tested their fitness at the 2013 Daladgar Cross Country Championships in Nandi. Koret Chepkoech denied Kiplagat victory in the senior women's race after taking it in 27:44.4 seconds. Kiplagat was second in 28:10.04 seconds. Hilary Kemboi won the senior men's race in a time of 36:54.4 seconds. Elsewhere, Ethiopian Yemane Segai Adane ended 14-year Kenyan winning streak at the Eindhoven Marathon, winning in a time of 2:09:11. He shook off his younger compatriots Bazu Worku and Belai Asefa, who finished second and third in 2:09:19 and 2:09:31 respectively. Ruth Wanjiru of Kenya won the women's race in 2:34:48, while Andrea de Lestra of Netherlands was second in 2:35:39 ahead of compatriot Dutch Stefanie Buma in 2:38:18. Kenya is going through a very crucial process of devolution that would mean that countries are now taking full control of their affairs, of their programs, using the funds at their disposal in order to determine what best suits them and their programs, and how is sports, particularly athletics, going to benefit from this process. And other countries in the region, Uganda and Tanzania, is there something they can learn from Kenya as devolution proper takes root? I'm going to put this question to my panelist here. On my immediate left is the 2012 IAAF World Journalist of the Year, Elias Makori. Thank you very much indeed for coming to Setting the Pace.
Pleasure.
And joining now us is a man that needs very little introduction from those who know him, Richard Nyakwaka Quicks. That is the name they call him. But importantly, he is the managing partner at Sports International. It's a sports think tank and a lobby group. Gentlemen, welcome to Setting the Pace.
Thank you very much.
Let me start with you, Nyakwaka. I know you have been dealing with a lot of programs. You have been conducting a number of workshops and seminars targeting sports federations and counties.
Right.
Very briefly, what have you seen from those programs that you've been doing?
Oh, I mean, so far we realized the disconnect between the expectation of the greater Kenyan nation and vis-a-vis the mandates of the federations. So part of the workshops has been to build capacity to bridge the gap, to showcase the value of sports in this country to them, and help them with the tools and knowledge of how to develop them to become world class and have more participation. Because you see, sports in this country, number one, we've got a 70% youth. Okay, we've got almost 70%. People say it's 40%. I think it's about 70% unemployment rate. One of our biggest natural resource is sports, completely untapped. okay, we are all busy looking for Ngamia 1 in Turkana for oil and stuff like that. If you ask me, they're good stuff, but completely crazy things. Sports is the immediate one, and the youth can play sports easily. And we have them. We have many of them. If you just reorganize the industry a bit,
right,
and we create opportunities for everyone.
And Elias Makori, now a lot of counties are now getting the funds. The central government in Kenya has released funds, and counties are now looking at their budget and allocating this kind of funds. If we look at athletics and just as one sport within the bigger spectrum of sporting federation and activities, how much is athletics now stands to benefit from the devolution process?
Actually, it's a very good setup structure, the devolved governments, but we'll need a lot of fiscal discipline. How are the counties going to utilize the funds allocated to them? Remember a while back when he was Finance Minister, Amos Kimunya gave 1 million shillings per constituency for football development, and about 50% of the constituencies did nothing with that money. So, I mean, is the allocation going to go to the right places? I think I'm not wrong in saying that there's only one constituency then in the last system of government that built a sports facility from the CDF. That is in Tulwet, I believe that's in Bureti district. How are the county governments going to prioritize sports? That's the big question. And
let's put that question to the governor of Uasin Gishu, Jackson Mandago, who spoke to Zuku TV about what the county of Uasin Gishu, that produces the biggest number of athletes in Kenya, is preparing to embrace devolution and the place of athletics.
Sports, and particularly athletics to this county, is the golden goose for us. And for us as a county, we really appreciate what sport has done to really change this town, even in terms of the economy. The athletes that we've had in the past have injected into the economy of Eldoret close to 3 billion shillings. So in terms of economic impact, that is very huge. In terms of improving the talent in sport, we've seen a number of now many young people coming up to take up sports as a profession. As a county, we are looking at this sport as one of the tools that will market this county board locally, nationally, and internationally. In terms of branding this county, we would like the rest of the world to know that Eldoret or Uasin Gishu is the home and city of champions. And therefore, anywhere else in the world, or you would wish to travel and meet some of these champions, then the only other place you can go to and be assured after every 30 minutes or an hour, you'll meet a world champion, an Olympic champion, a marathon champion, is Eldoret. Devolution will see sport grow not only in this county, in many other counties. Because what we are doing now as a county government is we've committed funds. One, to improve our sporting facilities. This town, we have 2 stadia. We have the 64 stadium, which has become a political market. But we now want to turn it to its proper use. So we are committing funds at the county government to make sure that the 2 stadia are functional. Besides that, we are establishing 3 high altitude performance training centers. Timboroa has the highest altitude in this county and in fact around the North Rift, and therefore is suitable for training. So we are looking at establishing one of the training camps in Timboroa and Kaptagat. We now want to nurture local coaches who will take up from the coaches that have been sourced from foreign countries. We are therefore keen to work with the champions to establish an academy where coaches can be trained and where athletes can even be trained further. We are also looking at training beyond the sporting training, creating an all-round athlete who will also be able to manage his or her own investments. We want to capacity build them because we also appreciate sports. You will not be there forever. You will be there for a season. But we want to build capacity also within our athletes so that even if they're sporting, they will be able to lead quality and stable life and be a good example to the upcoming athletes.
The governor of Uasin Gishu, Jackson Mandago, laying out a very ambitious program. From the policy aspect that you've been developing, rugby has taken off in Kenya, many would say, on a very fast stage. What can athletics learn from the programs that have been put in rugby?
Okay. The first one is about capacity building on the knowledge of athletics. You start from the primary schools and the secondary schools. Your first core people and entry point is the teachers. I think Athletics Kenya needs to organize a very vibrant program that runs all over the country, where the teachers are trained to be coaches of athletics. So once you start with this, it's more like about this is something that the evangelists learned a long time ago. It's about preaching the gospel. Okay, so if you go to and get the teachers and you have continuous workshops, seminars, you give them tools, and now in the 21st century we are a bit lucky because there's technology everywhere. You can easily squeeze a program on a DVD,
right,
and you just go with one or two facilitators and with a screen and a projector, and there you go. So if they would have more of those programs, have the whole year, map it out just like a timetable, and say from Mombasa to Busia to Mandera to everywhere, we are going to target this number of teachers, this number of willing coaches. First of all, get the part-time coaches into the system. Right. And once they have the gospel according to athletics, they preach it to every doorstep, to every kid, and then you have the talent base will be wider. Right. You have more talent coming through. Athletics will be. I mean, sometimes it's a shame that you got our national athletics championship and the stadiums don't get filled. But you see, if you start by preaching the gospel, everybody will embrace it.
And Makuri, let me bring you in, because you have recently traversed the region, and I know one of your trips will take you to Ethiopia very soon. And you've been there many times. You've been to Uganda, you've been to Tanzania. Regionally, if we look at Kenya and the region, how do we compare ourselves?
Actually, in terms of development, Kenya has bigger potential. But now that the developed government is coming into play, there needs to be incentives for people to develop, sports infrastructure, like what Lorna Kiplagat is doing in Iten. Unfortunately, she's spending a lot of money, about 1 billion, to put up an academy, but she's not getting any tax incentives, waivers on the tartan track, for example. It's not been laid because of tug of war with government. Looking at Ethiopia, number one, the Ethiopian Athletics Federation has set up training camps all around the country. There's one in Bekoji where all the top athletes come from. And they've given incentives to Kenenisa Bekele. About a couple of months ago, he opened his own track. So there are incentives for development of infrastructure around the country. And with the county government, I think it's a great opportunity, because in Nyanza, for example, in Kisumu, there should be a facility for sprinters. And we have the altitude camps in the North Rift, and put up another camp in the lower Rift Valley, perhaps in Kajiado or even Ngong area for long distance running. So these have to be split and scattered throughout the country for equitable distribution of talent.
And here's one person that is very particular about the prospect of having devolution go into the grassroots, because he says this would enable him and many athletes like him to be able to beat adversity and to be as successful as he is.
That's been a long holiday for me since I got an injury. It took me some time, but it is now joy in my heart, because I feel now good and my recovery is well. I will now come back with the idea of running road races, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, half marathon. Then I can see now my improvement, my results, and then that is what is now going to make me to go for the specific marathon, of which I am actually eager to be invited. If London invite me the next year, April, then it will be my big show. There is something which is actually bitter in my heart. We need to have a very good strategy, especially like 10,000, 5,000, and this marathon, where by now we are getting Ugandans coming and overtaking us. But then it is not too late. It is actually the time for us Kenyans not to assume things. for us athletes not to assume that when we go for championship it's automatic that we are going to win. We need actually to have a good preparation, and the results will be very amazing. This man is actually a man with tactics. He always ran very smart in the mind. He always ran earlier races without panning himself. So I find that he has some techniques about championships and Olympics. One time we met with our governor, and he was even saying that there is allocation of money that is coming for this stadium. So when you see actually it's not appealing to our visitors this time, but maybe we wish that in 2-3 years time it will be something different. Without injury, I am capable, and I believe I am capable of running 2:03:00. Not far between now and the whole of next year. Maybe after London Marathon, I can now say I go to Berlin where all the time conditions are very well for breaking the world record. Then I will be very sure to run 2:03:00 in my life. I ran in Ndakaini and I won, and my course record stayed for 5 years. So being selected as ambassador for Ndakaini, I am so happy, and I value a lot, even know that, but conserving environment, that is the key thing in my heart. I am a prayerful person. I depend upon my God all the time. So there is nothing impossible in this world. Nothing impossible.
Two-time world marathon champion Abel Kirui speaking to us here on Zuku Sports. And thank you very much indeed, Kirui. Nyakwaka, let me come to you and ask you really. People in Kisumu have been complaining that they are not being put in the program of athletics for a long time. And I would imagine this is a cry across the board, other countries.
Right.
Now, here is an opportunity to say, okay, now you have your own system, you have your own funding, and now develop your own policies and programs to fit you. But there will be a question of financial prudence and management.
Right.
What is it that governors ought to watch out for, and governments at the county level ought to watch out for if these programs must be able to succeed?
I think one of the first, even before you talk about discipline, it's about us having a plan. For a long time in this country, lots of money has been put into sports without any plan, like the 1 million Shina Makori has spoken about that was given some years ago for soccer in every constituency. There was no plan. Somebody just decided overnight that this money was going to be reimbursed. So you know, if you do not plan, then there's no structure. But once you do a planning and put a structure, then it will then allocate the funding to every little detail, which includes up to how many liters of water every athlete is going to drink when they're on camp. So once you have systems like that, in terms of fiduciary, discipline and all that, it naturally follows. It makes it a lot more easier because then there's less windows for misappropriation of funds or misuse,
right,
or outright corruption, which is endemic in sports in this country for many years, and it cuts a lot and across the board stagnates the development of sports.
Right.
Put sports in bad light because every time you open the newspaper, it's crazy stories about players not being paid their allowances
and sports corruption.
Exactly.
Makori, we are looking at countries in Kenya, possibly Uganda and Tanzania and Ethiopia that are going probably to invest more money now in infrastructure and programs that will benefit athletics. Is it going to be realized fully, devolution debate, if Uasin Gishu, for example, would be able to charge foreign athletes who come there money to be able to use this kind of programs and advantages that high altitude camps probably provide in Eldoret?
Yeah, actually, it's a gold mine, like Richard mentioned earlier, because a county like Uasin Gishu, you know, they have all the top runners. You know, the people who come to train in Chepkoilel and the neighboring county of Elgeyo Marakwet. I mean, Iten is it's a heaven for sports.
Let me ask you a question, really.
Yes.
It's a personal question. Where is this one place you have gone and you liked it too well? Outside Kenya?
Outside Kenya?
Yeah. Just one place, and why?
Wow, none. What you might call
patriotic. What is the most expensive thing you have bought yourself, and how much did it cost you?
Shoes.
How much did it cost
I
you?
won't say.
No, say. I want to know.
Back then it was about like...
How much, Nyakwaka?
300 euros back then.
I know, Makori, we have gone through this before. But I'm going to ask you, Makori, what is the cheapest thing you own?
That I won.
That you own?
That I own.
Must be this shirt. It's just for free.
You have a point. You have a point. No, that's a tough one. I don't know the cheapest thing that I own.
Just hold on to that. Let me ask our athlete what I've just asked this gentleman and see how they're going to react to that.
My first win was in Sydney 2000, whereby I won a gold medal in the 5,000 meters. My favorite meal is ugali. I love ugali. I love country music. That is my favorite music, the country music. I love relaxing when I'm like going to schools and talking, sharing with the young people. That is how I feel relaxing. I love wearing casually, long sleeve shirt and most of the time the black trouser. I love it. And I love khaki and khaki trouser and then the boots. Being in the country assembly of Kiambu County, that is what many people does I know. Last year during the Paralympics in London, whereby for the first time quitting from the race after 27 kilometers, it was the worst moment. The most favorable moment is like when we won 2 gold medals in Athens and beating world records at the same time. That was our great moment. I still envy very much people like Ezekiel Keboi, who has been a great athlete of the year of years. People like Rudisha, they are still people who I still admire very much. I met her when I was going to make a phone call, then that is where we met and then we became good friends. My first car was G Touring, but later I changed to RAV4 and Cardina. My first kiss it is when we became good friends with my wife. That is few days after I met her at the telephone booth.
What are the members of public saying about how the process of devolution is going to impact on athletics across the region?
Every now county will be able to develop their own centers for sports, and it won't be just in a central place like Nairobi, Mombasa. So it will have every county and it will increase awareness. More people will be able to enjoy the facilities, more people will be able to play sports.
Upande wa ugatuzi chenye naweza sema inaweza badilisha hali ya mchezo katika kaunti zetu kama viongozi wetu watatilia maanani.
Our athletes, they're the cause of our fame at the moment. So our government should be really concerned about their welfare, and so the money that is being devolved to the counties should be much more, so that it will be able to accommodate the athletes and the fame comes back to us.
Funds will be taken back to the counties, and these counties which have the most athletics, these people who are in this field of athletics, it seems as if they will get a lot of funds. It will give other counties morale to upgrade their status in this field of athletics.
Where is the 2015 World Championships in Athletics going to be held? That is a question I asked you last week in our trivia question. If you said Beijing in 2015, then indeed you are the winner of that trivia question, and congratulations to our winners. Well, this is a chance for you to be a winner here on Setting the Pace this week. And this week we are asking you, who is the world marathon record holder and what is the time? Who is the world marathon record holder and what is the time? Get in touch with us through our Twitter handle at Zuku Sports, and in the next installment of this show, we will be able to announce the winners. Keep watching the episodes that are coming up of Setting the Pace to be able to see your suggestions in action. Thank you very much for watching this week's episode of Setting the Pace. My name is Sadiq Shaban. On behalf of the team, goodbye for now.